Wait, we haven't started.
Thank you. A reiteration of these somewhat unexpected characterizations of multiple Jesus Christ continues as we bring to life 3 more excerpts from A.J. Langguth's novel, Jesus Christ. In this episode 2, we begin and end with a brief vignette, which in between is sandwiched a relatively short, rather lively courtroom transcript. We open with a 4th submission, a vignette entitled A Lesson in Humor.
Soon after assembling his disciples, Jesus began to call attention to his own bulky sandals. He encouraged a certain amount of banter about their cheap construction and cumbersome design. Then, reluctantly, seemingly against his will, he shared the laughter that his sandals inspired, until every man felt free to make a joke at their expense. He was profiting from one of his earliest lessons. Always give them something unimportant to laugh at, before they find something for themselves.
And with that bit of insight, we move to the next contribution called A Courtroom Transcript.
Unedited transcript. Read for revision and return to the committee offices. Chairman.
We are continuing today with hearings on House Resolution 371, the bill that would prohibit all scientific experimentation on human reproduction and would provide penalties for interference through pills, injections, machine, rays, or other means with an unborn child's intelligence, physique, or character.
Both.
Out my way, Mr. Chairman. There's a lot of good people who are very much behind this bill. They're calling it the Unnatural Act.
Chairman.
It's that kind of approach we've been able to avoid thus far in these hearings. Our success may account for the limited public interest the first week of our investigation has occasioned. For my own part, I welcome the atmosphere of sober restraint that has allowed us to do our job quietly and efficiently.
Belchior.
Mr. Chairman, an executive from the Consolidated Broadcasting System has assured me that they will have a representative and full camera crew here tomorrow.
Chairman.
Of course, our doors will be open to them, as they have been open to any citizen interested in this vital legislation. I will now invite our first witness of the day to take his seat at the witness table and to state his name.
Witness.
I am Jesus of Nazareth.
Chairman.
I know from past hearings that I would only embarrass our distinguished guest if I began to recount his many honors and achievements. I would like to point out, however, that he has almost invariably placed high in the annual polls of most respected public figures. So his opinions today will undoubtedly reflect the sentiments of the many people who look to him for leadership.
Belchior.
But he is testifying only for himself.
Chairman.
That is his practice, yes. I merely wanted to point and to explain for the record why his request to appear was honored when many other applications had to be denied because of the limitations of time.
Both.
I would be interested, Mr. Chairman, in seeing a list of the persons who were denied a chance to be heard.
Chairman.
Such a list will be made available to the entire committee. Neither your chairman nor the staff has any wish to suppress dissent. Now, let us proceed. Do you have a prepared statement, sir?
Witness.
I have several preliminary remarks.
Chairman.
Please proceed.
Witness.
I have observed from accounts of last week's hearings that you have heard from scientists and lawyers, as well as from a sampling of this nation's clergymen. They have presented scientific, legal, and ethical arguments for and against the proposed legislation. I am neither competent to join their debate nor interested in prolonging it on those levels. I asked to come here today to inform you of God's will.
Melchior.
Mr. Chairman, you assured us he was speaking only for himself.
Both.
You know, Mr. Chairman, that the court has threatened to cite our whole committee for contempt if he starts talking about God again.
Chairman.
I must ask the witness, while assuring him of my continued high esteem, to heed the objections of my colleagues. We are most interested in your viewpoint, sir, but there are certain limits we must ask you that you respect.
Witness.
May I continue?
Chairman.
Please do.
Witness.
I may state my message simply. God wants man to do whatever he can to improve the lot of his fellows.
Melchior.
Mr. Chairman,
Chairman.
WC will have to amend our transcript to offer that opinion as your own, sir. If you insist on bringing in concepts and phraseology prohibited in this committee, you will only succeed in making a lot of work for our stenographic staff.
Both.
Mr. Chairman, it's been warned 100 times. I don't mind saying that I was opposed to letting him come here again. You remember what happened during our hearing on sex offenders? A woman from the crowd bit the thumb off one of our policemen, Mr. Chairman.
Witness.
Considering the nature of those hearings, it might have been worse.
Both.
I don't think contempt for the law is a laughing matter, Mr. Chairman. I, for one, would like to hear an apology from the witness for his blatant disregard of our rules before we proceed further.
Chairman.
It is the view of the chair that our guest did not fully understand the nature of the restrictions imposed upon his appearance. If there is an apology to be made, I'll make it now to both the witness and the committee for not bringing more clarity to my exposition of our rules.
Gaspar.
I would also like to apologize to the committee. I'm sorry to have arrived late, but I would like to take this opportunity to say that our chairman is known to be one of the clearest men in our body.
Melchior.
one might even say one of the most transparent.
Chairman.
One might, but one would be out of order. Now, to continue, I think we can resolve this impasse if henceforth, every time that the witness employs the prohibited terminology, our stenographer immediately substitutes the words "an influential friend of mine," or simply "my friend," as the context dictates. Is that acceptable?
Both.
It'll keep us out of jail anyway.
Melchior.
I would prefer use of the word acquaintance in place of friend. I think the impressive testimony last week from our country's finest religious leaders of all faiths supports my substitution.
Chairman.
They were pretty hard on you.
Witness.
I've been hard on them.
Chairman.
Rather than belabor the matter further, perhaps we could follow the lead of our friends in the television industry and substitute a bleep whenever the controversial word is used, providing, of course, that the arrangements meets with the approval of the witness.
Witness.
I've accepted cruder compromises than that.
Chairman.
Thank you. Of course, in the transcript, we will use a capital B. Will you elaborate now, please, on the brief statement you had made before this lengthy digression?
Witness.
As I understand their testimony, the clergyman who spoke here claimed that to adjust malfunctions in an embryo would be to usurp Bleep's role.
Chairman.
That is correct.
Witness.
They don't realize that they are according him powers he has never desired.
Melchior.
Surely the creation of life is not a human prerogative.
Witness.
Not until man learns to do it.
Gaspar.
May I say, speaking only for myself, that I will be sorry to see that diversity pass out of human life.
Witness.
Which freaks and deviates will you miss? The hunchbacks, the hare-lips, the imbeciles, the insane, the woman with the blue birthmark running from her eyelid to her chin, the man with the testicles hanging to his knees.
Gaspar.
Be that as it may, sir, a race of men as little distinctive as a drawer full of stainless steel dinnerware is not attractive to me.
Witness.
Then you are ready to perpetuate human misery for your own amusement? That is more than Bleep would ask.
Chairman.
He is willing to see men adjust and shape the embryo to a standard mold.
Witness.
He welcomes it. Were the job not so tedious, he might have performed it himself.
Both.
Some of us who are a little bit skeptical of just how authoritatively this witness can speak for any outside power believe that if men were all supposed to be the same, that's the way they'd have been created.
Witness.
Do members of this committee and this audience still use words like created? I thought I had been able at least to clear up that confusion. Man is an accident. While Bleep has assumed some responsibility, his capacity for attention and his interest in Earth are not great.
Melchior.
That's blasphemy, Mr. Chairman.
Witness.
I would like to ask the representative a question, if I may.
Melchior.
I have no objection.
Chairman.
Proceed.
Witness.
Do you have children?
Melchior.
I do.
Witness.
What are their ages?
Melchior.
I have a son 28 years old and a daughter 23.
Witness.
Do they live at home?
Melchior.
No, they are both married. The boy is a chemist on the West Coast. The girl lives here in town.
Witness.
Do you hear from them often?
Melchior.
Fairly often, twice a week from our daughter. My son calls long distance about once a month.
Witness.
Always to ask for something?
Melchior.
Not at all. To find out how my wife and I are feeling and send his best wishes.
Witness.
What would you think if every time he called, he asked for money?
Melchior.
He wouldn't. That's not the way he was brought up.
Witness.
You would see his dependence as not only unbecoming, but as a reflection on you?
Melchior.
Certainly.
Witness.
Your reaction would not be so different from Bleep's. He is tired of hearing nothing but men, from men, but requests and appeals. If mankind starts to solve its own problems more efficiently, Bleep will consider that achievement the most satisfactory form of worship. There is also the other aspect that I mentioned, that he had not wanted man in the first place. To approximate Bleep's frame of mind, you'd have to imagine that you had not wanted your son, that he was conceived accidentally and has led to nothing but marriage and other irritations.
Melchior.
Mr. Chairman, I regard that as a slur on my wife and family.
Witness.
I ask you to imagine such a situation, not confess to it.
Chairman.
I think we'll move away from personalities, if you please.
Gaspar.
I have a question for the witness. Surely Bleep demands that we believe in his existence?
Witness.
Let me set a parallel for you. Picture yourself an extremely wealthy man.
Gaspar.
A millionaire?
Witness.
Well, if that's the extent of your imagination. Now let me ask you, would you prefer that Aborigines of the outback had never heard of you and doubted your existence, or that they flooded your office with requests for money?
Gaspar.
I
have known wealthy men, and they wanted above all to be left alone. Even the most generous of them hired someone else to dispose of their money. They found something unbecoming about sending off a donation to everyone who asked for one.
Gaspar.
I can see that it would make them feel like cows, only good for milking.
Witness.
Bleep long ago gave up trying to keep track of individual men. If a man has truly distinguished himself in some way, I have tried occasionally to bring him to Bleep's attention, but I have had trouble explaining why some of your artists are more esteemed than others. And he has never understood the loathing inspired by the losing generals in your wars. Often, before one of these interviews, Bleep asks absently whether man is the animal with the antlers or the elongated neck. I grant that he does it to bait you, but you can see that questions of that sort disrupt any serious discussion.
Gaspar.
But he must want to know that men believe in him.
Witness.
How would you react if I told you I did not believe that you existed?
Gaspar.
I think you were crazy.
Witness.
Would you curse me or try to scourge me?
Gaspar.
I'd feel sorry for you.
Witness.
Yes.
Chairman.
We are straying from the topic. The witness was assuring us that no repercussions would be felt if man began to assume responsibilities that hitherto have not been his.
Witness.
None at all. I think we would all hope that man would improve on Bleep's handiwork. That should not be hard. I have often taxed Bleep with some oddity in man's physique or psychology, only to have him shrug and say, I'm not a doctor or a sculptor. Your men are lucky to be alive at all. Let them work out their own details.
Chairman.
Has he ever given hints as to improvements he would welcome?
Witness.
I don't think it's possible to exaggerate his indifference. Oh, on one occasion, I heard him comment on man's unimaginative use of time.
Chairman.
Could you explain?
Witness.
He seems to find man's insistence On the present, a little stifling, a little dull. He's complained once or twice that men could live more sensibly if they would give up their dependence on sequential time.
Chairman.
Live in the past and future at once?
Witness.
Alternate. I know for a fact that he thinks a foretaste of age and pain would heighten the pleasures of youth. I've told him he's wrong. He doesn't appreciate the human mania for ignorance.
Chairman.
None of our scientists' experiments so far have permitted us to hope for such mastery of time.
Witness.
You asked what he had spoken about. I took one of the few examples I could remember.
Chairman.
However, we can now change skin color, hair color, eye color, sex, height, weight, and the intelligence level of the unborn. Would there be objections to that?
Witness.
What color is a housefly?
Chairman.
Transparent on the wings. I think green and black on the body. A little red and some iridescent patches, as I recall.
Witness.
What if I told you that there are 54 different colors and combinations of houseflies?
Chairman.
I'd be interested.
Witness.
Overwhelmingly interested?
Chairman.
Mildly interested.
Witness.
What if I told you that the flies were able to control those combinations and would begin shortly to produce flies that were more attractive to other flies or better adapted to their environment? Would you feel betrayed or cheated by those changes?
Both.
Mr. Chairman, is the witness implying that Bleep's interest in mankind is the same as man's interest in the common housefly?
Witness.
Much less.
Both.
I would like to say for the record that the credibility of the witness has been very much undercut by the tenor of his remarks today.
Gaspar.
I do think the witness should know that the sponsors of the bill testifying last week left us with the impression that Leap's wrath would be great indeed if we permitted the kind of adjustment and control our scientists have made available to us.
Witness.
Well, what form would this wrath take?
Gaspar.
They didn't specify.
Witness.
Famine, floods, fire, plagues.
Chairman.
This is not exactly in your domain, but I worry about another aspect. Which of us is intelligent and decent enough to supervise these experiments?
Witness.
If such a superior man existed, your scientists would not have had to work so long to allow you to create him. They have given you tools. Now you can breed the kind of men you wish you were.
Chairman.
There are a dozen more questions we could explore today, but our time is running short. I would like to ask the indulgence of the committee to raise a final point with the witness, one that I take up with apprehension. What will be the result of our experiments if they are successful on your work?
Witness.
On my mission,
Chairman.
I can foresee a time when men will come to believe your stories of Bleep's indifference. When they reach that point, will you be able to bridge so enormous a gap for them?
Witness.
I am urging men to improve themselves so they might interest Bleep without my intervention.
Chairman.
Is that possible?
Witness.
When man has learned to control his world, when he can ring up the dawn and bring out the stars, when he can inject life instead of only extracting it, when he has found the way to harness time and make it do his bidding, when he has learned to control his world and himself, then bleep may not find man's presence insufferable.
Chairman.
But what need would such men have for bleep?
Melchior.
Before you get started on all of that, I'd like to point out that it's lunchtime, Mr. Chairman.
Balth.
I would remind my esteemed colleagues that these hearings have not been concluded. Tomorrow we will be privileged to hear from one of my most distinguished constituents, an internationally esteemed man of bleep, who assures me he can refute everything said here today.
Melchior.
I, for one, look forward to hearing a more balanced presentation.
Chairman.
As I have said so often, this committee wants to hear all sides of an issue before we pass on the legislation.
Witness.
There is only one side, and I have presented it.
Melchior.
May I move, Mr. Chairman, that today's hearing be adjourned?
Balth.
I second the motion.
Chairman.
The hearings stand adjourned. I would like to invite the witness to join the committee members and staff in our cafeteria for luncheon.
Witness.
Thank you, but I'm due across the corridor in 10 minutes for a hearing on compound interest rates.
Somewhat ironically, leaving Jesus Christ, dealing with compound interest, we complete this evening's presentations with an entry entitled "The Word and."
And
The conjunction,
Jesus explained to Mark,
it's a word that's taken each of the unconnected events in my life and joined them and given them direction at those times that I've lost sight of my goal. I have had to be grateful for and.
And that's why when I asked you what you thought was the most beautiful word in the language, you said,
And.
and that completes episode 2 of A.J. Langguth's Jesus Christ.